Hello everyone, and welcome to Autocrat. This is episode 55, or LV, Odysseus and Friends. Now, we're back to something a bit more normal, let's say, after last week's episode, where we had to just, anyway.
Yeah, go listen to that if you haven't, or don't if you don't like drama and horror.
Now, we've got a bit of quiet before the storm of the Trojan War. So, what better time to introduce two familiar faces during the war?
Nice.
These are Odysseus and Achilles.
Ah.
Now, I know that Achilles is the son of two individuals who will be relevant next time, so the timeline is a bit out of sync, but bear with us. Odysseus is the son of Laertes by a woman called Anticlea. Anticlea herself is the daughter of Autolycus, as Hyginus says in Fable 243. Now, why is this important? Well, Autolycus not only taught Heracles the art of wrestling, but was himself a son of Hermes.
Nice.
So Odysseus is at least 1/8 divine.
Yeah, I didn't think to look into the rest of his family tree, but we've got that at least.
We do. Now, if you remember from 2 episodes ago, or from 20 minutes ago if you were there when we recorded this, it was the one who suggested that the suitors swear an oath to protect the marriage of Helen and Menelaus.
Yeah.
In return, he got to marry Penelope.
Which I can't help but think was his aim all along. He's crafty, Odysseus. I mean, there's a reason I drew him with a twirly moustache in this week's thumbnail.
However, the problems start when the oath needs to be acted upon and the Trojan War begins.
Ah yes, now the bill comes due.
So, people show up in Ithaca to summon Odysseus. However, he didn't want to go.
Understandable.
So he pretended to be mad. Not that this fooled a man called Palamedes.
No, of course
because Palamedes doesn't get fooled that easily.
Apparently. I don't think we ever hear from him again, or at least very rarely, I'm not sure.
He took up a sword and pretended to go kill
Telemachus.
the son of Penelope and Odysseus. I mean, he literally yanked him away from his mom.
Yeah. Wow.
Odysseus gave in at this point and admitted he was faking.
I mean, you would. If you think your kid's life is in danger, the first thing you're going to do is whip the sword out of his hand and say, "What do you think you're doing?" And Palamedes goes, "Aha, told you." I feel like he's that one friend at a party who always takes it too far.
So off to war he went. Now, let's introduce Achilles.
Yeah.
We have a whole book about him called the Achilleid by Statius.
It's a sauce, but don't put it on pasta.
But it's 2 books and over 40 pages long in the Loeb version, so given that it basically outlines the story Apollodorus tells, we're going to reference it, but leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it someday, I'm sure.
Yeah.
When you read it.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But given that I'd already researched the Apollodorus version of events and then saw this basically be the exact same thing, I thought, I'll give it a cursory scan and leave it at that. I can do that.
To explain Achilles' story, we have to go all the way back to the beginning.
Yep.
Back specifically to Oceanus and Theseus.
Ah yeah, 2 of the Titans.
They had a child called Aesopus, who himself married and had 2 sons and 20 daughters.
Wow.
One of these was called Hyginus. She was abducted by Zeus because of course she was.
Yeah, obviously.
However, her father set out to look for her. On the way, while in Corinth, he met Sisyphus, who told him that the one who had taken his daughters was Zeus himself.
I like to imagine Sisyphus just saying, "Just turn around, it's not worth it."
Well, Aesopus wasn't deterred, because at least he loved his daughter.
Yeah.
He chased Zeus down, but Zeus sent him packing back to his own river by throwing lightning at him. Such drama.
Yeah.
Such a drama queen. Apparently, this is the reason why in Apollodorus' days, coal was taken from the river. Now, I don't really get what that means. What do you think that means?
I mean, I can only assume that the lightning bolts that Zeus threw at Aesopus charred the ground and turned it into coal. It was a little bit ambiguous. I think Apollodorus takes this to be self-evident and just doesn't explain it any further.
Zeus took his abducted consort, because apparently she's a consort now.
Well, it's more of a general term of the woman he's kidnapped.
To an island which he named Jenae in her honor.
Yay! Nice.
Now, they had a son together called
Aeacus.
Aeacus would have been alone on the island of Hyginus, so Zeus turned the ants of the island into men.
Yeah, no biggie. Just have some people to rule over.
He's a weird boy, this Zeus boy.
I mean, it solves the problem.
Sure. Anyway, as boys do, I hate this phrase, Achilles married and had kids once he grew up.
Sure.
He had 2 sons, Peleus and Telamon. Achilles also slept with a second woman. This was Psamace, daughter of Nereus and hence a Nereid.
Yep.
To avoid him, she turned into a seal.
Nice. That shows how consensual that relationship was.
Their child was Phocus.
I mean, that makes sense. I'll leave a reference if I find out this is true, but the Latin name for a seal, I think, is Phocina, which is very like Focus in this story, so I guess the one influenced the other.
He also low-key saved Greece.
As you do.
This is because there was a famine in retribution for Pelops chopping up a king he was at war with when he lured him under a pretense of friendship.
I mean, that sounds like something someone descended from Tantalus would do. I mean, we didn't even get to that in the House of Tantalus episode. That shows how crazy that was. Vince from the editing room here. Thank you.
Isn't that the third time you've done that today?
Yes. We're doing a backlog, don't worry about it. Anyway, Vince from the editing room here to say that we kind of forgot to actually explain the ending to this story. So we mentioned that there is a famine because of something Pelops did, but we got distracted and didn't actually say how Aeacus saved Greece. Well, apparently Oracle said that Aeacus was so pious that Greece would be saved if he prayed for her, so he did. I assume he was asked very nicely by a delegation. He was honoured as a result of this, and even after his death, apparently held the keys to Hades. So that's just a quick tangent to explain the end of this story, and now back to past us in the episode.
Now, what about the 3 sons of Aeacus? Well, Phocus was apparently very, very good at sports. His brothers would not stand for this, so they killed him.
Yeah, being good at frisbee is just unacceptable, Focus.
Telamon actually did the killing because he literally drew the short straw and Peleus hid the corpse.
I mean, teamwork, I guess there's that.
Once they were found out, their father chased them off the island.
Sure.
Telamon fled to the kingdom of Salamis, ruled by the grandson of Aesopus.
Yeah.
He eventually inherited Salamis when the king died because of a snake.
Now, just know Telamon is not all that savoury, because he actually receives Hesione, if you remember the woman who Heracles sold into slavery after looting Troy, and had a child with her.
Okay.
Yeah. Peleus, meanwhile, fled to another king, married his daughter, had a daughter of his own called Polydora, and was purified of the crime. So that's nice, he's now free of all guilt. However, he had to run away again after he accidentally hit the king during the hunt for the Caledonian boar, which Atalanta took part in, and killed him. I mean, he also wrestled with Atalanta that one time, so yeah, if you thought he was a drama-free figure at that point, you were wrong. Anyway, we then get the standard story of a queen who Peleus rejects, hurting him back in retribution. This time, however, she sent word to Peleus' wife that he was about to remarry, so the wife, offed herself. She then also told her husband that Peleus had tried to force himself on her, so the king tried to abandon him on a hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Peleus would have died, but was saved by the centaur Chiron.
Okay.
Now, in the best example of someone getting something they shouldn't deserve, he then marries a goddess. This is the goddess Thetis. We will get more into that later down the line. For now, just know they marry. They then had a son together. And this son is, spoiler alert, Achilles.
Ooh.
Thetis wanted to make the child immortal, and so, just as Demeter had once done for another child, she held him in the fire of a night to eliminate the mortal half of him which his father had given him.
That's so weird.
It's also rude.
It is, but it's weird. Mostly weird.
It is weird, but I guess it was seen as a legitimate magical technique. I'm not sure how it works, but it just feels weird to think, let's get rid of everything that your father gave you, so you're just me. You're a carbon copy of me.
Mama's boy. Or boy's mama.
I mean, In a way, that's kind of appropriate, as we'll get to in the Iliad. By day, she would anoint him using ambrosia. However, she was hiding this from her husband Peleus. Just communicate. Communication is important.
People, communicate.
Yeah. He found out about the whole fire thing and, like any parent seeing his child squirming in literal fire, freaked out.
I bet.
Thetis stopped what she was doing and ran away to the Nereids. Peleus decided to give the child to the aforementioned centaur Chiron to raise. Much like he did with Jason, Chiron actually gave the boy his new name of Achilles because he'd been born as Ligeiron. I have no idea why Chiron keeps deciding to rename people.
Now, when Achilles was 9, it was announced that Troy would not fall without him.
Because yes, the Trojan War is already happening.
However, his mother knew that there was a prophecy he would die if he joined in the Trojan War. It's already ongoing, by the way, or just started, like you said.
Yeah.
So she dressed him up as a girl and hid him in the court of Lycomedes. There, Achilles slept with Lycomedes' daughter Deidamia and had a son called Pyrrhus with her. Remember Pyrrhus?
Yes, the one who marries Hermione.
Exactly.
So Ron Weasley.
Yes.
I mean, I think he actually has red hair, so that works.
This son also has an alternative name which is later given, Neoptolemus. What's with the Egyptian?
It's not Ptolemy.
I assume the war drags on for quite a bit.
Do you have to mock my script writing? I make one mistake.
I assume the war drags on for quite a bit of time during this interval, as the Achilleid laments that Peleus is too old and Achilles not yet a man, and in the meantime the Greeks drain their homeland of men.
Yeah, like, oh no, if only Achilles was here, that kind of thing.
Plus Achilles is said to marry Deidamia, which, like we just mentioned, which must mean they're a bit older, hopefully.
That must have been quite a conversation with Lycomedes.
Now,
Why, this girl at your court is not a girl but a boy and would actually like to marry your daughter who he's had a kid with.
Now, Odysseus shows up, looking for the child.
Give me a hint.
His name starts with a O. And he's got a book written after him.
Odysseus.
Good.
He comes in twiddling his moustache, I hope.
Now, he came up with a cunning plan to find the boy.
Yeah, like he does, because he's looking for him.
He laid out baskets and feminine items along with weapons.
I like that he just had those. Did he stock up before he arrived at Lycomedes' court?
The girls went for the feminine items, but Achilles snatched up the weaponry and so that gave him away.
Yeah.
So
I like to imagine his wig fell off his head as he did so.
So off to Troy he went.
Yeah.
Along with him went Patroclus, a boy who had sought refuge at Peleus' court for killing another child once upon a time.
Just casually. We won't go into it.
We'll pick up with him next time during the Iliad.
Yeah. Now, the image that we will leave all of you with is one from the Achilleid itself. A crying Deidamia watching Achilles go, holding little Pyrrhus in her arms as the ship sails away.
Oh.
So that's the last we'll hear of Achilles before we get to the Trojan War. That was meant to sound dramatic. Don't laugh at me.
You don't scare me.
I don't scare you. Alright, well that brings us to the end of the episode. So thank you all for listening and have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week. Bye.